Hi everyone, I am back in my interesting planning setup right now, my interesting filming setup, to continue the week of talking about using colorful pens in your planner. And today we're going to focus on color coding. I kind of teased it at the end of Tuesday's video, but I wanted to talk about it here. And if you're like, Cindy, you're wearing the same clothes, it's because I'm filming these in a row, dudes. I only get so much time to film every week. Let's be real. I actually have not used a lot of color coding in my planner in the past, but I do use it in my Google Calendar, and I used it when I was time tracking, so I'm going to apply a lot of the things I learned there here. If Tuesday's video was kind of about the aesthetic of it, like you could tweak some of the stuff I'm talking about to also be practical, like making stuff jump off of your page. But if Tuesday's video was more about the aesthetic of using colorful pens in your planner, today's video is much more about the usefulness, the practicalness of using colored pens in your planner. If you already have been color coding, you've already gotten some of this already under your belt, I'm sure. But if you are new to it or you haven't been doing it in your planner, the first thing you need to think about is how do you want to organize the stuff so that you know what colors to assign where. To do this, my suggestion would be get a piece of scratch paper or open up to a blank note page, because you're going to be kind of brainstorming. And brainstorming, generally speaking, is not very aesthetic. It can be, I guess. I've seen some people like my friend Jackie who takes amazing notes, but I tend to brainstorm and it looks kind of like a hot pile of garbage. But you got to think about like everything you put into your planner. A lot of the things I do here on Skillshare in the Wild U, which I have a minor there this month. I'll leave some information about that below. Not an affiliate link, just some information. A lot of the stuff I talk about involves you writing down everything that you do, but I think that that's important because when you plan your life out, you need to know the pieces. So think about this for a second. What is it that you want to color code? Why do you want to color code in the first place? What is it you're trying to keep track of? Well, for me, for example, I have 2 kids, so I might decide that I want to color code each of them individually, or I want to just color code them together. The way it works out in my Google Calendar actually is that I just have a family calendar that's everybody's stuff. And we just have family. And it works on the Google Calendar because when I have an event there, it's color coded to the family calendar, but then I start it with either K, R, J, or C, or all. So each of us is on there. If I was doing it in my planner though, I would probably do individually. So it would be my 2 kids, my husband, all 3 of them will get their own colors. I wouldn't get my own color, probably. It's my planner, so a lot of the stuff in there is me, and it's going to be different colors. So you have your different family members, or you could also add your pets to it. So we have our cats, Loki and Lucy. That might be something to assign a color to. Now for yourself, or if you don't have family members, what is it that you do every day? Do you go to school? Well, if you go to school, you may want to color code your different classes. Or if that's too complicated for you, you may want to color code your classwork and your homework, or your homework, like your basic homework and your long-term projects, or give one big project that's going to last for a semester its own color. It depends on how you want to organize things. So think about how you need to see stuff in your planner, okay? If you work and you don't use your planner for work, or you have a separate work planner or whatever, but in like your planner here, work is just one thing, then assign work a color. For me, I work for myself. So for me, I actually separate my work into different categories. Now, when I originally started color coding my work, I would be like, okay, so if I'm making a YouTube video, it should be this color. If I'm making a Instagram post, it should be this color. If I am doing a freelance art project, it should be this color. But if I'm doing a freelance graphic design project, it should be this color. And if I am answering emails, it should be this color. And if I'm on a phone call, it should be this color. This leads me to another tip I have. Don't overcomplicate it. The more colors you have, the harder it's going to be to remember what all those colors are for. So if you can, group similar tasks together into one color. If you've ever heard of the concept of time batching, where you try and do similar tasks at the same time, like if you are going, like it's the concept of laundry day, for example, right? Like if you're doing a day where you're washing your clothes and your towels and your sheets, all those laundry things are done in one day. And if on a different day, you've got the vacuum out, so you're going to vacuum all the bedrooms in the house and all the other rooms. You're batching different tasks together. Well, this is kind of a similar concept. You want to group together like tasks, like items, into categories so that when you look at your planner, you're not looking at 85 different colors trying to figure out what they all mean, because then it's just going to look like a pile of hot garbage. What you're going to want to do is have everything kind of streamlined. So for me, content creation involves making YouTube videos, podcasts, all that stuff, podcast interviews, editing, all of the things that go into making content that goes on the internet. Admin work is emails and phone calls and writing invoices to clients and all of that stuff. And then Etsy has everything to do with my Etsy shop, from designing stuff for the shop to packing orders to doing behind the scenes stuff for Etsy. Patreon, same thing except for Patreon. And then freelance, it's like basically like content creation, except it's all the content stuff that goes into my freelance projects, whether it's client work, writing another book, doing a Skillshare class, all of those things I kind of group together under freelance. So those are my colors, and that way not only am I able to kind of tell where my time is going in a given week, but I also can kind of see, it just helps me keep track of sort of the balance in the work that I'm doing. If I'm spending hella time on admin work and not a lot on content creation, then I know that the next week I'm going to have to kind of flip that around, because otherwise I'm going to get stuck and it's going to be stressful as fuck. Keeping things simple. Is housework going to be its own chore, or like errands? I know some people who like to have a color code specifically for anything where they have to leave the house. Could count work, it might not count work if you work from home. A lot of us work from home right now. Going to the post office, going to the doctor's office, all of that, you might want to categorize all of that into a color that means leaving the house. For me, a big category that's important is medical stuff, because I have a lot of that. I have to get blood work done, I have to check my blood pressure, I have to refill my meds, I have to go to the pharmacy, I have multiple doctor's appointments and video calls and all the things, because I have a chronic illness. And so categorizing medical stuff is important. For some people who have multiple chronic illnesses, you may want to categorize your stuff based on illness. That would be a good way to look back at your planner and see which of your chronic conditions is taking up more of your time when it comes to responsibilities. Nobody can tell you what your categories are. You have to figure that out for yourself. And so it's important to know the things that you're doing and what's important to you. Both what's important to you enough to track and what's important to you enough to discern what is what. A question you might want to ask yourself when you're figuring this out, when you're getting your categories together and assigning your colors, is why are you color coding in the first place? What is it about color coding that is going to be helpful for you? Do the colors let you know that you need to be in a certain frame of mind or in a certain mode or whatever the case may be for a certain task? Is it like what I was talking about before, how it's you don't really care in the difference of the stuff you do at home, but you really want to know when you need to go out because you like to wear makeup before you leave the house, or more likely right now you need to remember to bring a mask? Is it to track how you're using your time? So you go back and you look at a week and you see the different colors and you get an idea of how much time you're spending on X task instead of X other task. That's actually one of my favorite reasons to color code, is to be able to look back on my week and see what color is overtaking my calendar, because it happens. Right now I'm in the process of finishing my second book. My color coding is taken over by freelance because I put all of my book stuff into that category. And so when I look back at my planner, I see book everywhere. When I look at my Google Calendar, I see green, which is the color for freelance on my calendar, and I just see it everywhere, which means that I can see what was taking over my life at the time. When I've had surgery and I've been going and preparing for it and I've looked back at my calendar, I can see all of the appointments I went to, all of the times I had to go in for blood work, all of the preparation I had to do, the time I spent in pre-op, all of those things are on my calendar. I can go back and see how much time I had to spend on that. For me, that's important because I like to see how I'm spending my time, even if I'm not great at completely accurately capturing it into my planner or anything like that. It still gives me a general idea of where my time is going, because when I start to feel overwhelmed or I start to feel burned out, it gives me a clue as to what might be causing that, either too much of something or not enough of something else. So not only identifying what you want to color code, but why you want to color code in the first place is going to be really helpful for you when you are making these decisions. I sound like I'm trying to be up there on stage, live your best life. No, dude. Yeah, okay, I see some of you out there in the planner world because I know, because I'm one of them, right? I see you. You're like, oh, colors, and it's going to look so fucking good with all the color code, and it's going to look rad, and I can buy some more pens, and blah, blah, blah. And then you do it, and it's just another thing to keep up with. You're like, why the fuck did I do this in the first place? I'm trying to head that off at the pass here, my bros. Like, just think about it ahead of time, and you might think, fuck, maybe color coding's not for me. Or you might actually identify why you want to do it, and then it'll be useful for you as opposed to just one more thing that you started and then couldn't keep up with, and then you just went and like moved on to the next thing. I'm just saying. Maybe I won't be calling you out anymore. Maybe I will be. Who knows? Okay, now that we've talked about what you want to color code and why you want to color code in the first place, now you get to do the fun part. You get to pick your colors. First of all, like I said, when you don't want to have way too many categories, the whole point of not having too many categories is to not have too many colors. I can't tell you what too many colors is, but trust me, if you start with a key that has 85 different colors on it, and then you can't remember what color is what, you'll have too many colors, and you'll know it. So just try and make sure you start with like a reasonable amount. My second tip, pick colors you like looking at because you're gonna be looking at them a lot. Don't pick colors you hate. On the other hand, and I did this when I was time tracking, if there is something you don't want to be doing that much of, but you're going to color code it because you know you have to do it, whether it's something you shouldn't be doing that much of and you're trying to do less of, or it's just something you absolutely hate doing, go ahead and pick a color that you hate for that. Or a color that's going to look heinous with the rest of the colors, because that'll help you avoid doing it too often. But I have another kind of important thing for you to remember because this has also bit me in the ass. Choose colors you like, but don't choose colors that are too similar to each other because it'll fuck you up. I did that when I was time tracking for my mild liners. I think I had like red and like vermilion, which are not the same color, but when you're doing a whole bunch of little squares next to each other, it's hard to tell which one is which. Also blue and blue-green, hard to tell apart. So make sure you pick colors that are different enough that you like can actually tell. And if you can, pick colors that like they stand out for a reason. For me, doing freelance stuff is green because green is like money. And it's not because nothing else I do makes money. A lot of what I do makes money. However, with the freelance specifically, getting paid is directly correlated to getting specific projects done. With some of the other stuff on my list, I have to do the work to get paid, but it's not as directly correlated. If I'm doing a freelance project for somebody, I'm not going to get paid until I send them the deliverables, right? So the green is important for that because it just reminds me that this stuff I am doing not only is directly connected to getting paid, but usually has an invoice associated with it, and I need to remember to send that because I'm really terrible at it, and if you ever want to move into the freelance world, be better than I am at sending invoices. If you're gonna do a task that means get out of the house, maybe use a super bright color to call your attention to that. Just pick colors that you naturally associate with certain categories if you're able to, because when you look at them, until you've trained yourself to recognize what color means what category, and that can take a little while, if you are able to build those connections, it'll help you remember what colors use, which will make your color coding more efficient in the long run. And then my final tip that kind of goes with selecting your colors, if you have a desk or a spot where you tend to use your planner, like if you have a place where your like life happens, your planner life happens, whether it's a desk or on your counter or wherever you keep your planner shit, have a container or a pencil bag or something that only has the pens you're using for color coding. And if you use a different color just to write in your planner, then that as well. But have your color coding stuff specifically in one spot without any other colors so that when it comes time to do the color coding, you don't have to search for the pen you're looking for. Just have it in one spot. For me, I am very, very, very specific about this. I have pens stashed all over my office, but when I am doing color coding or using specific colors, the pen cup on my desk has the pen that I'm using to write in my planner and whichever pens or highlighters or whatever I'm using that week or that month or whatever, they are right at my hand and they are not mixed up with a whole bunch of other bullshit so that I don't have to search for them. The key here is ease of use. You'll be more likely to stick to it if it's easy to get to. Now I want to take a second and kind of talk about a couple of ways to color code in your paper planner. Highlighters we'll be talking about next week, but for colorful pens, for color coding, there's two basic ways to do it, right? Either you write down your stuff in black, like let's say that green means work and purple means housework, right? So Zoom, call, and then some other situation, bullshit, email, and then bathrooms, and wash out trash cans, which is something I actually have to do today and I'm not looking forward to, right? So if purple was housework, then I could draw boxes around it, or I could do the thing I talked about in the video on Tuesday where you go over it with a color, but you just use that color to highlight it, right? Box, if you have a highlighter, that works better. But with colorful pens, and then you would do the same thing with your work. But with colorful pens, I think the more obvious solution is to just write in those colors. Bullshit, email, and bathrooms, right? So you just write them down so you know what it is. And that's probably the easiest way to do it. And if you're not doing a lot of decoration in your planner, this will make your planner look colorful and all you're doing is writing in it. The biggest pain in the ass with that, with either of these things, any of this sort of color coding, is if you take your planner out and you need to make appointments or whatever in it, carrying around extra pens might be a pain in the ass. So using a single pen and then going back and putting circles around it or whatever, or using a highlighter is probably going to be your best bet. But if you do most of the writing in your planner at home like I do, I tend to just make appointments on my Google Calendar, or I just tend to make a note of them in my phone and then transfer them in because I have back problems. My planners are fucking heavy. This isn't even the planner I'm using right now, but the planner I'm using is even heavier than this because I've got the Live Rich planner, which is a giant motherfucker. But like my back and my shoulder can't take carrying that shit everywhere, so I don't carry my planner around. I make notes on my phone and transfer them into my planner when I get home. But if you carry your planner around with you, then you might have room because you're probably carrying a giant satchel anyway and you could throw your pens in it. But otherwise, make notes and then color code them when you get home. The final thing I want to talk about when it comes to color coding is your key. Now, eventually, if you are color coding consistently, you'll remember what color is what. However, until you remember what color is what, you need to have some way to understand it. Now, when I have done time tracking in the past, I just drew my key every week, which got old after a while. And then what I did was a tip-in, where I took like a piece of cardstock or something, drew the key on it. So we'll fake a key here. We'll use green for work, and then we'll use purple for housework. And then we'll use, I don't know, I'm just making some shit up right now. Blue for family shit, which is actually very similar to what's in my planner right now. And then pink for errands, right? So let's just pretend this is all I'm color coding, but you have your key. Now I'm doing this on an index card. Why? Because I'm cheap. You can make it as fancy as you want to. The goal is to memorize it, unless you change your color coding based on the season or something, which if that's more involved and you're probably better at color coding than I am. You can go into the front of your planner and just tape it inside the cover, with some washi tape. If you have the kind of planner that either sells or you can get the little things that snap into your planner, if you have like a Happy Planner discs, you can punch it for that, or you can attach little things that'll make it stick in. If there's a tip in or something that's already made for you, I don't have any of these things, so I'm just conjecting here. You can tape this to that. One other way you can do it is to just have it on a Post-it note or something, or have it on your index card and just grab a paper clip or something and just attach it to the week that you're on so that you can see it. Like, that'll also give you the little notification that that's the week you're on, but it'll just help you work with it. A tip-in is where you put it on the side, and then you run some washi tape down the side of your paper. Like, I'm not going to do it because I guess I could, because I'm not using this planner at the moment. I'm using this as an example planner. Let's grab some washi tape. So here's the washi tape I happen to have right next to me. For a tip-in, you just grab some washi tape and you stick it on whatever thing you're using, whatever card or whatever, but you only put it on part of it so you can see here, like that's the back of it. And then you lay it on the paper, like on the edge of the paper. And then, oh my God, let's see if I can do this without like squishing. And then you just, tape it down so that like that. And then that way it's a little thing and it opens up. It's like a little tip-in. That's what it's called. So I'm sure people can do it better than I can, but whatever the case may be. And if it's washi tape, often you can peel it off, or you might not be able to, so who knows. If you're gonna do a tip-in your bullet journal or something, then by all means. But my biggest suggestion is just use it as a bookmark and make it your goal to memorize your color coding. The longer you spend not knowing what it is, the longer you're gonna spend not knowing what the hell's in your planner at a glance, and it's just gonna be another thing you're adding on top of it. And as much as I like to embellish the shit out of my planner, it has to work. It has to work for me. I have to keep track of my life, because nobody else in my family is willing to take care of their motherfucking schedule, so I gotta do it. Do I sound resentful? Maybe. So those are some tips on color coding. Like I said, I'm not the biggest expert at it. I have done some things over the years that have been really useful for me, and so I wanted to share them to help you if you decide that color coding is something you want to do. My suggestion is, if you really think color coding can work for you, commit to it. Because otherwise you're going to spend a whole bunch of time on something and then be like, God, this is just one more fucking thing. And that's the last thing I want for you. Also, work with the colors you already have. Don't go buy more pens to color code, especially if you don't know if it's going to work for you or not. Because again, the pens are not the point of color coding. The help it gives you in your life is the point. I hope that that's helpful. This coming up week, I am going to be using the colors that are on my Google Calendar to plan in my planner, using and working with some of the other things I talked about this week with colored pens. It's going to be an all color pen plan with me this coming up Sunday, the whatever day that is. I think it's the 13th. Question mark? Yeah, I think it's the 13th. Whatever that Sunday is, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time here on the YouTube channel. I hope that you subscribe. Next week, as I've already said, we're going to be jumping into highlighters, so I hope to see you there. Take care of yourselves, wear a mask, register to vote, wash your hands, hand sanitizer, be safe, because I love you, man, and I will see you next time, my dudes. And I think I already said subscribe, but if not subscribe, thanks. Bye.